Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Newsmakers. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight is a very special Newsmakers. We have a very special guest. A lady who has distinguished herself among her peers and certainly distinguished herself among the mayors and leaders of this nation and in this country. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce to you right now my moderator, the man who makes this happen, the political editor of the Atlanta Voice, the executive editor and editor-in-chief of the Newsmakers General, Mr. Maynard Eaton.
Thank you. This is, we've been doing this for 2 years now, and believe me, the number one person we wanted is the mayor of Atlanta. You talk about one of the special elected officials of all time. You talk about somebody who's distinguished herself as not only the sewer mayor, but also the one, I promise you I'll make you proud. If there's anybody in elective office who's made a citizen proud, it's our mayor, Mayor Shirley Franklin. Thank you so much for being here, Mayor. Yeah, let's talk about water and sewer. So we start. This has been a lady of your elegance and style to be known as the sewer mayor. That's the best mayor in America, but you call yourself the sewer mayor.
Sewers are real important to cities. There's some folks out there who know about that, right? Water, clean water. You can't have a healthy economy. You can't have healthy people unless you have access to clean and plentiful water. Our job is to be sure that we have clean water, and then soon we need to talk about plentiful water, because in 20 to 30 years it's projected that Atlanta and the metro area will have a shortage of water.
But you took a real gamble, did you not? This was not the first time Atlanta was faced with infrastructure problems. Other mayors had eschewed it or afraid of it. Why'd you bite the bullet?
Well, that's a good PR story, but the truth of the matter is, by the time I came into office, Mayor Campbell and the City Council had approved water consent decrees with the federal government. They were paying for the consent decrees, right? They were paying fines, but they signed consent decrees. It's like a contract with the federal government, and said, we will do these things in this time frame, in this order. So those consent decrees were already there. And it was really a question of how to fund them. And I'm not sure that anyone realized that the funding mechanism wasn't fully flushed out. How about that? So my job was to review the plans to see if we could make improvements, and indeed we did make some, but relatively minor improvements, and to find out how to fund the water and sewer improvements. So I'm proud to be the sewer mayor, and I think when history is written, that's exactly what I'll be known for. People can say other things if they like, but I have a neighbor who's 92, and before I dubbed myself the sewer mayor, he came over and we were chatting about what the city was like 60 or 70 years ago, and he told me early in my election, after my election, he said, you've talked more about sewers and water than anybody since Hartsfield. He told me that, and I got the idea of dubbing myself the sewer mayor, really to capture everybody's imagination, because I was sure that the press was going to call me the sewer mayor.
So you called
I figured I'd call myself that. I got there first.
Last week,
but I mean, on that point, we don't have to stay on water and sewer. And all of you know I can all day long talk about water and sewer. It is, in my view, the most critical infrastructure issue that faces Atlanta, the region, and the state. And one way or another, we have to find ways to not just have clean water, not just have accessible water, but find new water sources if Georgia is going to continue to grow, if Atlanta and the metro area are going to continue to grow.
But infrastructure is also a major issue for most cities, especially cities run by black mayors, like in this state. Georgia Conference of Black Mayors this month, they'll be talking about infrastructure. Is that a major problem for many cities?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's a problem from the far northeast all the way going down to Florida, all across the country. There are different issues. In some cases, it's aging infrastructure. In some cases, like new communities, it's expansion of infrastructure because the community has outgrown the infrastructure, whether it's transportation infrastructure, whether it's park infrastructure, whether it's water and sewer infrastructure, whether it's roads, whether it's solid waste infrastructure. How do you manage your solid waste 20 years from now?
But it's not sexy. It doesn't seem exciting. Does it really matter to John Q. Public? I mean, does it resonate with the electorate?
Well, the truth of the matter is, after 2 years of talking about it, people talk to me about water and sewer all the time. And I would say there was an interesting, the last presidential election, one of the candidates, Howard Dean, came to Atlanta. And he went to a very prominent African American's home for a event during the primaries. And the story is told, though I was not there, that he talked about all the things he was going to do relative to infrastructure. And someone from the back yelled, "Water and sewer, water and sewer."
I was State Senator Leroy Johnson's house. I was there.
Howard Dean has since told me no place else in America did anybody ever ask him about water and sewer. So our campaign was successful. And we have an educated public on that subject.
Nice transition. Howard Dean, the last presidential election hopeful. This year, where are you? Are you an Obama fan?
Oh, I'm definitely an Obama fan.
Where's the mayor of Atlanta going to...
I'm definitely an Obama fan. But I'm also a Hillary Clinton fan.
I was going to say, yeah.
I'm also a Hillary Clinton fan. And I've listened to several of these presentations. At the last DNC meeting in Washington, I had a chance to hear half a dozen presidential candidates. There's no question that Senator Obama was electrifying. There's no question about that. But there's also no question that there are a lot of women of color and others who are very interested in the advancement of women in presidential politics. So I think we're going to have to wait to see how this comes out.
Come on, you can reveal a little more than that. You have Hillary Clinton's not said, please, Shirley.
No.
Nobody's asked for your support.
I wouldn't go that far. I talk to everybody. I talk to all of them.
So where are you, man? They want you to make some commitment at some point.
Oh, I'm not planning to do that.
You're not going to commit to any...
I learned an important lesson in the last presidential election.
You're doing John Lewis, huh?
No, not John Lewis. Well, I don't know. John Lewis is not a bad person to model.
I'm saying he's swinging back and forth.
No, I'm not swinging anywhere now. I'm sitting still. I'm not running for president. You know what I'm saying? I'm sitting still. I got plenty to do right here in Atlanta. But, sometimes in politics, once you commit, people stop listening to you. Oh. Sometimes once you commit, folks say, oh, I got that one. And then it's really hard to go back on the commitment, right? So they kind of do have you in a box. Whereas if you're not committed, you're not quite in a box. Maybe they'll keep asking your opinion. It's just another way to look at it. It's a woman's point of view.
Yeah. And obviously, I don't get
point of view, right? Something you learned growing up as a young woman. Maybe, just maybe, you keep everybody waiting a while.
Wondering.
Did I throw you off?
Yeah. That kind of got me. Given the dynamics of this race, can you crystal ball this? How do you see it perhaps shaping out?
Oh, I think
people say Obama can, at the very least, be vice presidential.
Oh, I don't know about that. I think he's smart, he's articulate, he's hardworking, and he's obviously bold. I mean, how many freshman senators would step out there and say, okay, it's my turn? Most of the time, people get in a prestigious group like the U.S. Senate, and they fall in line with these are the rules and these are the traditions. So he obviously is very bold, and along with being smart and being hardworking, no telling where you can go with those qualities.
What about you? Where you go with all your qualities? I mean, you have 14 months into your second term. What's next for Shirley?
I'm going to try to get my part of the sewers done. You know, the water and sewer projects will go on beyond my term in 2009. And as a matter of fact, I had a young woman about 17 ask me the other day when we were going to finish tearing up the streets.
Yeah, that's rough.
You know, and I said, well, how old are you? When do you go to college? She told me, I said, well, when do you graduate? I said, 2 years after that. We've got a long way to go on water and sewer. So we have to stay focused on the things that we've promised we would do. And they include things like stay on track with water and sewer improvements. We say that our work is dirty work, and that we've got to continue to do that and do it well. We have to continue with the airport expansion. We need to build an international terminal. We need to build the consolidated rental car facility. We need to stay on track in moving the city to financial stability. That's harder and harder to do because the cost of government increases faster than the revenue increases just naturally. So we need to do that. Our crime rate is down, but it's not as low as we'd have it be. My proposal was that it would drop 50%, and in some categories we're down 20, in some categories we're down 10, but we clearly want to get violent crime down substantially, so we have to do that. We said we would eliminate chronic homelessness as we know it, and we're on track and we're working hard.
Has that been one of your biggest accomplishments besides the sewers? I mean, homelessness has been an issue you've kind of...
It's not an accomplishment yet. We're just struggling every day. The gateway opened, but the gateway has to be a first-class operation that really addresses the needs of the homeless, and they have many different needs. So we are struggling to do the better and better at that. So that's another. Affordable workforce housing.
That's a misnomer. That doesn't happen.
Oh, yeah, we're about to do it. You didn't hear?
Yeah, I heard about that little check you got. But...
A little check. All right.
No, the point is, people like the editor, the publisher of Atlanta Voice, Janice Ware, who's in the House, who said, man, it's a misnomer that the affordable housing at some of these projects, you're people paying 2/3 of their income to pay for a
No. We said affordable. We just got authorization from the council at our encouragement to issue $75 million in bonds backed by the city to write down the cost of housing so people can afford to live in it. So it's a little bit different than what you are accustomed to.
Okay.
And this is a full-scale rework of everything we've ever done before. First time city's ever put any money into this. So we're recognizing that an average house that's newly built in Atlanta costs $244,000, and that a teacher and a police officer married to each other or significant others will not make enough money in order to buy that house. So we are proposing a program that will create a soft second mortgage that will allow them to go into a property that exceeds their ability on their income. In addition to that, we're going to write down the cost of building a rental housing. So we're talking about an absolute write-down with city money, because we can't have a safe city if police officers and firefighters and corrections officers, and we can't have a safe city if sanitation workers and reporters,
you're right,
and bank tellers, if people from all economic strata can't live in the city, that won't work long term.
But Mayor, isn't that the case though? I mean, you look at the public housing projects, those tenants have been pushed out there in Clayton County and Cobb County. Up-and-coming young white folks are moving downtown. I mean, there seems to be, and Kasim said it last week, seems to be a wholesale change in the dynamics of Atlanta's population. Is there a point where black folks cannot afford to be in the city?
Well, poor people can't afford to live in the city now, which is why we have a program. Okay. That's why we did homeless opportunity bonds, $22 million. But in addition to that, the city needs to invest over a period of next 10 years, $1 billion in affordable workforce housing. We need to build more housing, renovate more housing. This program will allow you to build a house that needs repairs, that you can afford the house, but it needs so many repairs, you can't afford the repairs.
Right.
This will allow you to borrow the money at very low interest rates to do the repairs in the city of Atlanta. This is going to be, in many ways, this is one of the most important initiatives we've ever undertaken, because we are putting a stake in the ground and saying that this will be a city where working people can afford to live. Now, some people will still choose to drive 30 miles, but you will have the alternative. And with $75 million, we will be able to incentivize the development, renovation, and design of 3,000 new units in 4 years.
So you're saying
In addition to everything else everybody's doing.
in 4 years, you can impact 3,000 homes. Is what you're saying?
3,000 households. Now, the reason I'm talking so much about it is it's important that that kind of program continue for about 7 to 8 years at $75 million a clip. Well, if people believe you can't do anything about it, you can't get the political will on the council and in the mayor's office to change city policy to continue something like this. This is going to be major. The city's been trying to do this, been trying to figure out how to incentivize affordable housing since Maynard Jackson's first term.
Because it is a problem. You see the trend, and many people have said that affordable housing, it became, what does that mean? You think you defined it now? You think you
Now, you can find affordable housing outside the city.
Right.
We have got to give incentives to create it, renovate housing inside the city. And I mean, for instance, if you are an employee of Harvard University, okay, or a major university with a huge endowment, they actually give second mortgages to people so that they can work near the university or work in the university because they know you can't afford to live close by. So this is a private sector model that we've used and converted to a public sector. Now here's the trick. The reason you don't know about it is we didn't have a referendum. Because the law allows the Atlanta Housing Authority to do this under existing law. Did you know that? No. And neither did we. It took us 3 years of research to find a mechanism to do this. 3 years. I mean, and I didn't do the research. I was glad to hear about it.
So the Atlanta Housing Authority is doing something progressive now as opposed to just running folks out of town.
Well, I mean, you know, you've lived here long enough, and I've lived here long enough. I don't think any one of us went into Eastlake Meadows. So you can talk about how wonderful it was and romanticize it. But when I was chief administrative officer of the city.
Little Vietnam?
Yes. And a few other places like that. Do you remember when the post office, U.S. Post Office, stopped delivering mail in bank headquarters? I do. And to think that we are going to create these enclaves of poverty and we're going to just say it's okay to create these ghettos where only
Is it
poor
okay
people,
to run folks out of town?
No, it isn't, which is why we are countering with an investment in affordable housing so people can stay in town. But it's not okay to say Little Vietnam was all right. I mean, that's romantic. That wasn't real. You know you didn't go down there. I know I didn't go.
This is true, and you worked over there.
Exactly. And I grew up in a big city that wasn't easy to navigate.
You didn't answer the question about where do you go next? What's next for Mayor Franklin? I mean, there has to be some political life left in you.
Well, I hope so. I plan to vote.
Oh, come on.
I plan to campaign. I plan to campaign for candidates and on issues, but I'm not planning to seek electoral position again. I mean, I would
Is the code word planning or the code word saying you're not going to?
No, the word is planning. I'm not planning to do that. Circumstances could change, but I don't have any plans to do that. And the last there were two people who really leaned on me to run for mayor. And there's only one of them left. And I've told him he doesn't have the same weight as two. Maynard Jackson and Andy Young said, now, you know you can do this. You know you should do it. You know so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so. I said, okay, Andy, it's just you left now. I don't know if you...
You got to wait.
You don't know if you can do this by yourself again.
Speaking of leaning on somebody to run for mayor, I'm told it's been suggested you're leaning on your former campaign manager, Senator Kasim Reed, to run for mayor. true or not?
Well, Kasim loves politics. He ran right out of college. I met him on my doorstep. He was going door to door in the House district. And he came. I realized then I was a super voter. He knocked on my door. He told me what he was interested in, what he had done. So I think he has a passion for public office. Right. And certainly serving as mayor is a great office to serve in because you have the advantages of public policy development as well as the execution. So while you can go to Congress and the U.S. Senate and debate issues and set national policy, you really get to, at the local level, you really get to see the fruits of your work firsthand. So for my money, it's retail politics versus wholesale politics.
For your money, can he win?
I don't know. I'm not too good at reading polls. I mean, he's certainly smart and he's intelligent. He's educated. He's been willing to commit himself to politics. But I think there's going to be a lot of competition. I mean, I could name probably 7 or 8 candidates.
Go ahead.
All right.
Please.
I do this often.
Yeah.
I think you have 4 or 5 on the city council. You obviously have the council president. You've got 2 or 3 who are citywide council members. Willis, Mitchell, and Norwood, who are interested. When I ran the first time in 2001, Claire Muller was interested, so I don't know if she would be interested again. So that's 5 right there, right?
Go ahead.
And you have Kasim. I hear other names from time to time, but not anybody whose name I mention because they're not really in public life, so I wouldn't want to.
Are there any other white candidates or private citizens that you
Well,
see?
number 3, I am in office 2 years, 9 months, and less than 25 days, and about 20 days, okay? Maybe 21 days. Who's counting? But, but the fact is, I was not a candidate until 2 years out, until about 20 months out. Right. And everybody said, oh, she'll never run. You said that, as a matter of fact. She'll never run, and my name was on the list with everyone else. I don't think you can know almost 3 years out who will really run, even among those who say they're interested. No one thought Andy Young would run for mayor.
That's true, yeah.
Everyone knew Maynard wanted to run. Everyone knew Bill Campbell wanted to run. Everyone knew Marvin Arrington. Everyone knew Michael Lomax. But not everybody knew Andy Young. And a lot of people said they didn't think I would run. People thought I would not run in the end. And I campaigned for a year and 3 months before you could even qualify. And the bet was I wouldn't qualify because I had some awful things in my background, I guess. That's what folks said.
I didn't remember hearing the awful things about
Oh, yeah, they made up a few things, too.
Why did you run? What compelled you to really do this? Because you had been kind of a background player. You knew city government. You just hadn't been out front.
Well, I was very much persuaded by Andy and Maynard. And there were a small group of women who came to me.
Small group?
Yes. I mean, 5 or 6 women who sat me down one day, and they said, listen, a woman needs to be mayor, and you've got the best shot. And they were black and white. They were, no one was in government. They were all outside of government, and they all appealed to me to consider it. And so there was a small group of women. No one in my family thought I would run. So I was compelled. I love public service. I had enjoyed public service. But one of the key issues for me, and I used this in the final weeks of the campaign, was to say to folks, we all know that women are smart enough and that there have been women for ages who are smart enough and capable. So it's important for us to break through that glass ceiling so that other women and men who wouldn't consider themselves good candidates, can step forward and lead. So that was a key factor for me. A second key factor for me, which I rarely articulated, was that I really wanted to be sure that there was no question in anyone's mind that black elected leadership could be at the top of the heap nationally. And I wanted to demonstrate that Atlanta had done that before and could do it again. And I did not want there to be any question in anybody's mind about that. So,
and you've done that too.
And you know, so those are really the three reasons. One, that I was the fourth woman to run for mayor in recent times. I certainly am not. The others were smart, they were educated, they were committed. So it was important to me to define that not only could women run, but they could run competitively. I didn't think I'd win when I started, and neither did a lot of other people. And I barely won, so we need to tell folks that. You know, 181 votes is not a landslide. You know, that's what.
But you were way down. I mean, Rob Pitts was almost considered a shoo-in. I mean,
no, I was at 8%. He was at 38%. 8 or 9 months before the election. So, and that was not my genius. You can be assured of that. It was other folks like Kasim Reed who made the difference with that. I didn't tell Kasim what the poll numbers were until after he agreed to be campaign manager. He's like, what?
Speaking of women, we have to say this. One of the finest and most dynamic women we've known, and you've known, is your mother. We offer your condolences in the passing of your mom.
Thank you.
Great lady.
Thank you.
Great lady. We're going to open up for some questions for the mayor. Questions, not comments, not documentaries, not storytelling, but questions. But Mayor...
I have my back to these folks
no,
over there.
that's enough. They're going to line up for a second. But
okay, I'm not going to turn. I got the camera over there. I see
you know this stuff, don't you?
I'm following your lead.
Yeah, right. Let's talk about something a little testy. The Civilian Review Board. I mean,
not for me. I came out for the Civilian Review Board and subpoena powers for the Civilian Review Board in the 1980s. I've consistently been in favor of that. Consistently. Have said so publicly and have never wavered on that. Now, I have learned in recent weeks that there is a model that experts, not myself, believe is an improved model over the traditional 1950s, 1960s model. And it's operational in Columbus, Ohio. It's operational in Los Angeles. And experts are telling us that that is a better model, which is a human rights model that includes all the powers of a civilian or citizen's review.